You sent me a photo the other day when you bought this new car, saying and literally the message just said, "Bought a new car, picked up a hitchhiker on the way home. We'll tell you later."
Yeah,
and I was
on the
excited
way
for
home.
that.
Oh, not told you about my car, Luke.
Oh yeah, so you got a new car, right?
Got a new motor, Dave.
What's wrong with the old one?
Too small.
Too messy.
Too messy. Well, I cleaned it up actually. So I spent a good week cleaning it up, getting a new battery. There was some light damage to the sides of it. So I sanded and primed and spray painted that away. And I thought I'd done a pretty good job. And I've got no history, as anybody's been listening for a couple of years. I only learnt to drive about a year and a half ago, and I've got no history of ever sort of buying a used car.
Yeah, because you kept asking me how to buy one.
Yeah. So I'd bought one. I'd bought the Fiat 500, and that served me quite well. But it is a go-kart, and you can't really put much in it, and things might change, and I might need a bit more room, and so. Right, so I went to a car dealer.
You told me you told everyone listening to this show that you were going to get a particular brand of car that you found online, and I told you not to do that. A Kia Sportage or something.
A Kia Sportage. I don't know why you told me not to do that, because that would have, out of the thing that I did buy, that would have been the most sensible option. I went to the dealership and gave and handed over the Fiat, and he took one look at it, and he went. And I just presume that you go to a dealership and they go, right, this is the amount of money I'm willing to spend on this car, and then you haggle or do whatever.
What did you say? He didn't want it?
I was prepared to haggle, right? And he said he didn't want it.
I can't sell that.
I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I didn't want it. I mean, he said there's clearly been a lot of damage, and the front of this bumper is full of filler. And you can see where the scratch is.
Because they know about cars, don't they? They know about them.
Well, he said it's full of filler, and I felt like going, I bought the filler, but I didn't fucking use it because I thought I was going to get away with not using the filler. I should have used the filler. You wouldn't even have known.
Oh,
and so
really?
I'd fucked the job a bit. To be fair, the things that he was pointing out, I was going, yeah, I mean, that is fair. I mean, I'd done that rather poorly. I'd left fibres from the J-cloth in the paint. You know, like when dads in the 80s, as we spoke about before, like having little bits of toilet roll on their wounds when they've shaved. It looked a little bit like that. And so, like you said, yeah, it's not for me. It's clearly had a bit of a bump, and it's clearly full of filler. And I felt like, God, I was trying to pretend that I hadn't touched it. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
So what did you do with your old car then?
Well, he basically went, look, I'm a nice bloke, you're a nice bloke. I'm going to ring around, see if anybody... And I presume this is all part of the dance, and it'll be on his website next week or something.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'll ring around, see if any of my mates want this Fiat 500, and I'll see if I can get you a price for it. Which is very kind of him. But obviously, I was going to buy a car from his lot. So, it worked for him, because then he gets to get rid of one of his cars. And so he managed, like, about an hour later, he's like, yeah, somebody I know wants it. And I'm like, right, okay, this sounds like a continuation of the dance. And so I managed to part exchange my car. And
how much for?
I think I got about cracking on for 8.5 for the Fiat, and then I put another, because it's automatic. And it's relatively recently. It's 2017 or something. So I don't know cars, but I know that's kind of what ballpark I was looking at anyway. And so I dropped another $1,000 on a car. Then I'm not going to tell you what brand of car it is. You're going to have to figure it out one day, because it's too embarrassing. But
I'm going to see you drive into the office, aren't I, at some point?
Well, then you'll find out what car it is, because I'm not telling you what kind of car it is.
Why are you embarrassed by it?
Because it's just embarrassing. And I...
Why'd you buy it then?
Well, because I was like...
Was there a sticker over the label? Like a surprise car?
I looked at the car.
Oh, what is it? BMW? Mercedes? Oh, fuck.
I literally just went...
Did you panic?
Why can't I have that? Because I'd budgeted for $2 or $3 to get a bigger car. So I was like, right, for $2 or $3, I could get that car. And so I've got this car that may or may not be too big for my road to park on.
What are you doing with it then?
It's too big. It's too big, Luke. The car's too big. And I'm a dickhead.
Where have you parked it?
It's on my street, but I mean, next door has to move his van every time I park it.
Is it the limo from the first Die Hard movie?
It may as well be a hearse. But yeah, it's a little bit embarrassing. But I was like, look,
What did Sarah say?
Similar things. And my mum said similar things.
Right.
And I thought, that just seems like good value to me. That just seems like good value.
Yeah.
I've already taken it a quick fit because it's pulling to the right a little bit. But other than that...
Well, I saw...
It's fine.
You sent me a photo the other day when you bought this new car saying... And literally the message just said, bought a new car, picked up a hitchhiker on the way home. We'll tell you later.
Yeah,
and I was excited for that.
Yeah, so on the way home, I from the dealership, I stopped off at Wickes to buy a light switch. And
it's a car too big for the Wickes car park.
Car too big for the Wickes car park, and it's got roomy boot, but it's still not as much room as the Fiat. Weirdly, I don't know how that works out, but yeah, and this guy just came over, like quite, seemed to be a well brought up lad who looked completely normal, didn't look particularly down on his luck, but he'd spent the whole. He was like, basically, excuse me, is this the best place to be to get Hitchhiker access to London? Because I'm trying to get back to Bristol. I've been on a year-long trip around Europe on the kindness of strangers, basically.
Is he
I've
British?
just been yes,
Yeah.
traveling around Europe, just hitchhiking everywhere, basically. And I went, no, you probably need to be over on the arterial road because this is basically the retail park, so people are just probably shopping from locally. So you're probably best off getting on the road. He said, can you take me there? And I was like, I wasn't used to driving this car. So I'm like, I don't know how really to drive it.
This is on the way back from you buying it.
This is my way back from me buying it. So
Yeah.
I've kind of get where I need to be and sort of park up and stuff. And he turns out he sort of spent a year in Japan in the middle of nowhere as a monk. He spent loads of time around Europe this year. So he's just kind of like just kicking around, really. He had to get to Bristol. He was trying to get to Bristol. So he's kind of at the end of his big, long, year-long journey across Europe and stuff. But it's very unlike me to be picking up passengers, picking up hitchhikers. It's not a thing that happens very often. I just drove him round the corner of the arterial road and stuck him in a Shell garage. He's probably still there.
He could have walked there, couldn't he?
He could have walked there, yeah. But I mean, I guess that's not. I guess if you're committed to the hitchhike, you've got to. You've got to kind of be.
Yeah, I don't think you have to like hitchhike to the toilet and stuff like that. I think you could just do some walking, right? I mean, hitchhiking itself involves some kind of walking, doesn't it?
Yeah, but he was interesting enough. But he gave me his card and stuff, and I took a picture.
Why has he got
with
a
him,
card?
so. I don't know. Well, I guess if he's explaining what his hustle is, I mean, it's probably a better story than just I need to be in Bristol now, bruv. Can you get me there? Like it's a bit less in your face, isn't it?
And what was his name?
I can't remember, but it was on the card. I've sent the card to Rory to put up.
Oh God,
I've sent the picture of Rory to Rory.
And
to put up.
He wasn't a fan of any of your podcasts, no?
Why would he be a fan of any of my podcasts?
Well, I just think he might not have much else to do if he's fucking hitchhiking around Europe.
Actually, yeah, it's a good point. Actually,
Perfect environment for a listener.
Well, he did say what did you do for work? And so I'd help out on a podcast company, and he it makes it sound like a charity mission. Help out a podcast company, and he goes and he said, well, if you ever need someone to interview. No,
that's what everyone fucking says. Whenever you mention the word podcast in a fucking job conversation, everyone goes, I've got an idea for a podcast.
That's how I started a lot of mine.